No, no!
You have to read it.
It's a fucking disaster, and I mean it like something that happened. I was a D-class personnel and tried to survive here. I knew about other D-class personnel getting called an SCP cell, and then mostly disappearing all of a sudden. Before what is happening right now, I was sent to SCP-682's cage. When we saw the female with huge claws, bone-covered body, and alligator-like bony helmet covering her head, we knew that something bad is about to happen. I was with three other D-class personnel guys, and they were ripped to shreds in an instant. The gates closed behind us, and they set her free. I stared at her with my body shaking. I couldn't do anything but stare in her cold eyes. I started backing away while she attacked me. I somehow managed to dodge it. Started to punch the glass behind which the scientists were. Open those damn gates, you fucking lunatics. She'll kill me. I turn around and just see the incoming claw. I fell on the floor as a blade of fingers left 5 long marks across the glass. I stare at her as she glanced down at me coldly before once again being close to strike me down. Ah, shit. I rolled away as her claws came from above, impaling the ground where I was before. I started to back away, forgetting my feet again. I fell over and something hit my head. I just saw her coming towards me. It turned out that I was lying on top of 2 corpses belonging to other D-class personnel. I smiled before grabbing the chopped off arm of one of them. Sorry, buddy. Needed more than you. I turned back toward the SCP, who was slowly advancing towards me with murderous intention. She thrusted her claws at me once she was closer, but I managed to block them using the corpse of one of those guys who came in with me and hit her over the head with the chopped arm. She glared at me, and I shrugged, seeing that didn't really affect her, before smacking her again to make her growl in anger. She tackled me and tried to stab me with her claws, so I pushed my hand forward. Oh. Oh.
Keep
I
going.
felt a touch of something and opened my eyes. Her claws stopped head once my hand was on her own. I had my fingers intertwined with her own, and she was staring at me as we were holding hands together before looking down on me. She got a very serious look on her face before leaning closer. She sniffed my body and traced her other claw all over my body before stopping at hands. She tore a hole in them and started touching my dick, getting it hard. She then leaned closer to my face and opened her mouth, showing a row of long and sharp teeth. She looked at my neck and suddenly moved forward, biting my neck. I screamed out in pain, but she didn't kill me. Mike. She then nuzzled her head in the crook of my neck. She grabbed my erection and stared at it with lust. I thought we were going to have sex, but instead the whole room was filled with sleeping gas and we passed out. Time skip. Oh boy. I woke up in my cell and saw some papers on a table in the corner of my room. I walked over it and picked up the papers to read them. My eyes moved across the content of what they wrote down for me. Turned out that they addressed me not as a simple D-class personnel, but now I'm infected. I don't really get it, but since they said I survived the meeting with 682 and almost made it with her, I guess I'm getting a special work. Yeah, job is about spending time with 682 so she won't turn super aggressive with a simple outbreak or something and turn the whole facility into a pile of smoke and ruins, which will happen anyway once she gets bored of me. I stepped out of my room and saw 2 guards aiming at me before the third one came over and threw a full gas-proof suit to me. If you want to walk around, then wear it. We don't need more SCP and infected ones. I put on the suit and left the D-class block while heading for the heavy containment zone. Where's my new assignment? Once I entered the zone and was near SCP-682's cage, something strange happened. A power outbreak. I heard everyone panicking as artificial intelligence took over once the power was back on and opened all the cages letting the SCPs loose. I heard a loud growl before a large tail coiled around my waist and pulled me in the dark as my head hit something, knocking me out. Time skip. I woke up and looked around, seeing that I'm in the forest. I see sun shining above and clouds slowly flowing across the blue sky. I started chuckling before it turned to maniacal laughter. I'm finally free. I jumped to my feet as soon as I did it. Something or someone tackled me. My eyes went wide at the view of SCP-682, with a red face and lust-filled eyes slowly rubbing our course together while I was still in the suit. Mine. She suddenly clawed at me She suddenly clawed at me and I yelped when she cut my arm and chest. I breathed through the air as she left claw marks down on them and ripped off my top clothes before she did the same thing to lower lungs, leaving marks on my tights. Wow, what are you doing?
Keep going, buddy.
Mating with mine. Mate. Suddenly, scales covering her lower region and breast move aside, showing me her whole body. I found her body very attractive despite her bone scales and whatnot she have on her body, like those enormous claws, and now hold my erected dick. I stare with fear as she took my erection within her claws and gently pumped me a bit before she got on her knees, and with the use of her claw-like fingers spread her pussy lips apart before slowly descending my dick. She was practically. They didn't even spell practically right. Oh
Keep reading.
She was practically teasing me and letting me see how the top of my erection was stopped against her entrance, where she moved to the side a bit before the very top went in. She moaned out loud and then plunged the whole thing in. I saw a bit of blood running down my shaft, but I felt it in place and felt only pleasure and pressure instead of pain. Fucking COVID, dude. She, however, moaned louder before suddenly pinning me down with my arms next to my head and her claw ducking into the ground next to my face. She started moving up and down like crazy while I tried to hold back a moan. However, it was all for nothing. She was moving so wildly and filled with primal urges, I suddenly started moving the hips up myself. She leaned down, kissing me and biting on my lips, leaving a few teeth marks before she leaned down and grabbed my chest and started licking the cuts she gave. I kept on moaning, and she came while I was breathing heavily, barely holding it in. I grabbed her breast in my hand and suddenly froze with fear. Instead of a normal hand, I had claws with the other human-like, with others still being human-like but covered in my bones. My claws were somehow smaller than hers, and she just kept on pumping me. What are you doing to me? I asked her, and she glanced down at me before her claws moved across my cheek. I felt her pressure, but instead of blood, she had a bit of dust on it. I put my human hand on my face and felt something like a face guard made out of bone. You be like me, infected with love. Not too long after, I couldn't hold it in. She pushed me all the way inside her, and I came. She let out a growl-like sound before her soft flesh started to squeeze me, and she started pumping me again, despite a bit of cum dropping out of her entrance. She got even tighter, looked down. It turned out that my dick, thanks to the mutation, had gotten even bigger. And she had a bit of a problem moving on it. I, however, pushed her down, now feeling a strange primal lust overwhelming me again. I started moving inside her like crazy, not having a problem with using all the power in my hips. She was moaning loudly, and I bit her on the neck. I pulled back, scared of what might happen, but instead of a bit mark regenerated, and she had a bite-like mark on her. I started fucking her even harder while looking into her face as she digged her claws into my back before pulling me closer to her. I was breathing heavily and then pushed in as deep as I could, probably penetrating the entrance to the womb. I was staring her right in the eyes while my sperm was filling her up, and then growled and pushed me off, making me fall from the lack of strength and mutation of my body. She crawled on top of me and lied down before falling asleep with a blissful expression on her face while I had to stare her off as my body was still changing and I couldn't push her off. Aftermath. I became the same monster she is. She, however, is much bigger than me and used me more like a sex slave rather than someone equal. She refers to me as mate and never lets me out of her sight unless she goes to hunt. I, being her sex machine, also equipped with quite lively sperm, make her pregnant many times. She continued to birth out children until the world turned into our planet and our race on top of the food chain. Ashton, fuck you. Go fuck yourself. Nobody loves you. Nobody loves you.